Hello, and welcome to today's lecture on typography. Your objective for today's lesson is to be able to identify the style, arrangement, and appearance of text in a design. You'll also be able to differentiate between a typeface, a font, and understand when to use certain typefaces and fonts. Your essential question for today is, what impact does typography concepts have on the effectiveness in multimedia design? By the end of this presentation, you should be able to answer that question. Throughout this presentation, you will see a set of questions that will be answered, and be sure to pay attention and answer them. So what is typography? Typography is the style, arrangement, and appearance of text in a design. Typography is all around us. Take a look around the room right now, and you'll notice that there are different types of typography all over. So the basics. We start off with the typeface, and that's the basic design of a character. Most of you guys have probably already heard of it, Times New Roman, Arial, but most of you guys think that that's a font. That's not true. That's a typeface. So there are several types or categories of typeface. The first one is serif, and these have strokes or attributes at the tips of letters, as you can see here. Some examples include Times New Roman and Courier as your fonts. Next would be sans serif. Now sans means without strokes, attributes are at the tips of the letters, as you'll see here. And some of those examples include Arial, Trebuchet MS, and so forth. The next one is ornamental, and these are decorative, eye-catching types. You see the example here of Algerian or Bauhaus. Script is designed to look like handwriting, as you see here. And most of the time it will say script within the name. So if you see that, well, it's telling you it's script. Okay. So when do we use these typefaces becomes a question. Okay. Well, for serif, we use that mostly for printed materials such as books and the body or text of articles. The next typeface, the sans serif, is well used for digital designs and is easier to read on screens. Ornamental would be well used for decoration and poster design as well, because we're not using the body of text, it's designed to catch the reader's attention. The next is script. And as you see here, I wrote a nice poem for you guys. Bacon is red, bacon is rough. One strip of bacon is never enough. And as you guys see that, it's well used for formal and informal invitations or casual. You might see that is there, but for the most part, we're thinking of script, wedding invitations, and things like that. So this is where font comes in. Okay, and so when we talk about font, we're talking about the style. Okay, so first off, you have regular, this is no styling whatsoever. You have bold, you have italics, you have a stroke, you have a fill color, you have small caps. Okay, those are all examples of ways in which you can style a typeface. Thus, size 12 Times New Roman is a font, whereas Times New Roman is a typeface. So next we move into the typeface spacing categories. All right, the first one we're going to come across is monospaced. Now this will appear as if each character takes up the same amount of horizontal space. It would almost look or appear to you as if it is spread out. Okay, so some of those examples include Courier, Source Code, Pro. Proportional, on the other hand, deals with the amount of horizontal space each character takes up will vary. So a T will not take up the same amount of space as an I, and so forth. As you see here with the example of Times New Roman and Arial, you can see depending on the size of the letter, that's going to take up more space. Whereas in the monospaced, it varies. So from there, there are some things we have to consider with typography. And that's the usability and readability. Should we actually use this typeface or use this font? So the first thing is your personality. Okay, and this all talks about the purpose of the design here. Okay, so a font choice should convey the meaning or personality that matches the purpose of the design. So I'm not going to write a card for someone's loss in Comic Sans. Okay. The next is visual hierarchy. So an arrangement of text in a graduate series to help readers scan and know where to enter and exit the text. Could you imagine a textbook with just a big block of text where you didn't know where to start, begin, or go forth? Visual hierarchy gives the reader direction and purpose. The next is font choice. Okay, and your font choice should be limited to 2 or 3 fonts. Too many distracting fonts or 2 to 3 fonts would be fine. Anything more would be too distracting to the reader, and you want to try and differentiate from the same typeface category. Your target audience. You have to think about who is your design for. Is the font choice appropriate and legible for your intended audience? Think about road signs. Road signs are typically monospaced and widespread out. The next is your medium. All right, you want to test to see if the typeface is legible for the intended output. Does it look good on the screen or does it look good on print? And what is it going to be used for? All right, from there, you also, in testing the medium, you want to see how it appears on the screen. And so the first way we do that is leading or line spacing, which you guys might be known for. So the vertical space between the lines of text to fit into a text box or column. The next is kerning. That's the horizontal space between the pairs of letters. So you can adjust the space. Sometimes readers do it, or designers do it to make text more attractive or put emphasis in a design. And the next is tracking. Okay, so kerning you see is between the letters, individual letters, whereas tracking is across a whole block of text. And typically you would apply it to more of like a paragraph and things like that. So be sure to answer the questions as they're coming through the Ed puzzle. You won't be able to move on. And make sure you are answering the questions on the side of your notes and also completing the vocabulary and summarizing and answering the essential questions.